has been on fire this year, scoring at least 30 points in 31 straight games. So it's no surprise that he's the favorite to be the MVP. Harden is followed by the Greek Freak, who has led the Bucks to the best record in the NBA, and Paul George, who is having a career year averaging nearly 29 points a game. We're joined once again by Chris Broussard. Chris, right now, who is your MVP?
I have those three as my top three, but in a different order. I'm going with Giannis Antetokounmpo. I was with Harden up until a few weeks ago, but now I'm going with Giannis. Giannis, first of all, his numbers, Skip, are out of this world. 27 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists a game on 58% shooting. I mean, this dude statistically is off the charts, and he gets it done down the stretch. He's third in the league in fourth quarter scoring. That's big. He plays defense unlike James Harden. He's 15th in the league in real plus minus on the defensive end. So he uses that length and athleticism to not just play one end of the floor. And because of him, largely, Milwaukee is the only team in the NBA that is in the top 5 in offensive and defensive efficiency. Milwaukee has the best record in the league. Yep. They have the best road record in the league. They have the best point differential in the league, which usually is a good barometer to measure future playoff success. Giannis has been just spectacular in every way. He doesn't shoot three-pointers, but he doesn't really need to. When I look at James Harden, I was with him, like I said, up to a few weeks ago while the Rockets were winning. And they were winning at an impressive pace during his first part of his 30-game, 30-point streak. But they've cooled off significantly. They're 11-9 in the last 20 games. And since Chris Paul's come back, they're 4-4. And the reason is because they're still playing like all Harden all the time, even though CP3 is back. They're making CP3 a role player. And I know he's not quite what he's used to be, but still, he's still a very good player. And they need to get more in line with the way they played last year, where it was more of a two-headed monster instead of just Harden doing everything, because now it's starting to catch up with them, and they're not going to win at a high level anymore if they keep playing kind of this one-man band type of basketball. So I'm going with Giannis. Another thing in his factor and his that helps him, Skip, and I don't know if you're going Paul George, but Paul George has another star, I would say even superstar on his team in Russell Westbrook. Typically, whether it's right or wrong, that's always worked against guys. We saw it with Kobe and Shaq. Kobe and Shaq combined have 2 MVPs. Steve Nash has 2 himself. It's because they kind of canceled each other out. And we can criticize Westbrook all we want for his shooting percentage, his free throw percentage, all that. He's still averaging a triple-double, playing good defense. And Giannis does not have another star. I know Chris Middleton made the All-Star team. He's a nice little player, but there's no perennial star next to Giannis Antetokounmpo. So he's number 1 right now for me, Skip.
So, as usual, Mr. Broussard, you made some decent basketball points. I'll give you decent points.
But I'm going to kill your Paul George argument already?
No, you didn't. I'm just going to make better points about Paul George. And the irony of what I'm about to say is those who have watched this show faithfully and loyally over the last 2.5 years know I have often been very hard on Paul George on this show. I have called him often George Paul, as in just that guy at Indiana, that LeBron wannabe who just genuflects in the presence of LeBron James, as in melting and saying, I'm not worthy, I try and I fail to be a poor man's LeBron James. All that has changed. All that is out the window. Yet all that is why I am now driving the Paul George bandwagon toward MVP. And I believe he's going to catch James and catch Giannis and close with a rush and win Defensive Player of the Year as well as MVP, because what he is doing in spite of Russell Westbrook, is just extraordinary and off the charts for me. Again, Paul George is igniting one of the best defenses in pro basketball. I give you, Milwaukee is at the top. They're really good on defense, but so is Oklahoma City without their best defensive player, Andre Robertson, who's still out. And I don't know what his MO is or they're not even talking about him coming back this year, but Paul George has filled that void. Paul George ignites that team on the defensive end even more than on the offensive end, where he has been spectacular. He leads, Paul George, the league in steals. He leads in so many other categories and deflections and various other things that add up to this team is dramatically improved on the defensive end only because of him. And on the offensive end, again, Giannis doesn't shoot many threes. He's not a three-point shooter, but the three-point shot is just so much more dramatic. It has so much more impact. And guess what? Paul George averages 10 a game, 10 attempts a game. He's taken 537 on the year. He's made 41% of them. I watch Oklahoma City every night. I'm addicted because I sit back in awe of his late game clutch three-point shooting. It seems like on a nightly basis, Paul George takes over the game in the fourth quarter shooting threes. And he's in on such a roll with such tempo and rhythm. Chris, if you watch him, it's like he swishes every one of them. When they leave his hand, I'm like, that's good. Shoots them with arc, rhythm, tempo, and he is taking over the team, and he has won the trust of one Russell Westbrook in ways obviously Kevin Durant never was able to. I don't know why. Maybe Russ has grown up. Maybe he's matured. But the truth is, Paul George is carrying Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has been atrocious shooting the basketball. He's only making 42% of his shots from the field. That's horrendously bad. He's 25% from three. He's 66% from the free throw line. It's like you have to overcome that on a nightly basis. And guess what's happened since January 19th? Oklahoma City is tied with Milwaukee for the best record in basketball since then, since January the 19th. And Oklahoma City is the #1 scoring team since January the 19th, 122 points a game, because of Paul George. What he's doing is staggering to me because he has suddenly turned that team into his team. He's now taken 206 more shots than Russell Westbrook. When would that have ever happened with Kevin Durant? It just didn't, because they were vying. They were competing for who got to shoot the ball the most. So he's won Russ's trust. He's won the coach's staff's trust. He's taken over Oklahoma City. He stayed there for a reason, because I think he didn't want to share the stage with LeBron, and I don't think he wanted to be on as big a stage as the Staples Center stage is in his home area here in Southern California. He's obviously from Palmdale, but he loves Oklahoma City. He's comfortable playing alongside Russell Westbrook, and now the irony of this whole discussion is Russell Westbrook is actually playing alongside of Paul George. That has MVP written all over it, and I think people over the last 25 games will see the light and see that Paul George has finally arrived as a bona fide superstar in the NBA. Thank you very much, and way to go, Paul George.
George, look, he's been great. He has been OKC's best player offensively and defensively, but I would disagree on this point. Russell Westbrook is the engine, not the best player on offense, but the engine. If you watch him every night, you see that Westbrook is getting different types of assists now. He is looking for other guys. He's passing up open shots, right? And finding the open man rather than going up himself to shoot. Oh, I can't shoot. Let me pass it and get an assist. And I think, look, Paul George, Steve Adams, Jeremy Grant, and Dennis Schroeder are all having career years offensively. I think a big reason is Russ. I want to hear from you, Skip. What's the argument? George has been great. I agree he's been great. But what's the argument against Giannis? Has he been better than Giannis?
He has, because Giannis, it's his team. He's the solo star. I know Chris Middleton made the All-Star team. I'm not sure how, but again, he played great in the All-Star game. I give you that. But that's Giannis's team. Every night he gets to do whatever he wants to do. Paul had to figure out how to ingratiate himself with Russell Westbrook. And I got to tell you, I watch these games. I don't know if you can see me right now, Chris, but I watch them like this when I'm watching Russ. Like, oh, what's he going to do this time? I don't know. I don't know. Is he going to throw it in the 7th row or the 9th row? I don't know.
He's going to get a triple-double. That's what he's going to do.
Well, he does, but they're Jason Kidd Memorial triple-doubles. Now, he scores 13, 10, and 10, right? Because he shoots 6 for 29 from the field, and he scored 13 points,
Oh, Skip, we don't want you watching games like that.
You've convinced me that Paul George is number 2. So I'll move him ahead of Harden, maybe.
I made progress.
But Giannis is still number 1.
We still got 25 big games left, and let's see how it plays out.
We made some progress. Chris, thank you for your time. Coming up, will LeBron lead the Lakers to the playoffs? Michael Rappaport is here. Can't wait to hear what he has to say next.